In this review we're going underground with the Liebherr R944C tunnelling excavator, which is a heavy machine weighing 44 tonnes. This version of the model is in the colours of Käppeli, a Swiss company. As usual for a Liebherr model, it comes in their standard box design, but there's no information about the real machine on it. And inside, the model is contained within the usual pair of expanded polystyrene trays. There is some soft paper which protects the model nicely, and with that removed you can carefully take the model out of the box. There's a small bag that contains a few spare parts, and there's also an extra bucket tool. There's a little bit of unwrapping to do before the model is ready. There's some masking tape around the end of the milling tool, which is there just to keep the pins in place. And there are some clear elastic bands to remove from the crawler tracks, and that's because the track pads are just hooked together and might come apart while the model's being shipped. Underneath the model, the details are fairly simple, but the crawler track pads look good with some bolt details. The tracks are metal, as are the track frames, and there's some nice steps leading up to the cab, but there are no working rollers. The dozer blade is a simple metal part, but there are excellent protection plates on the hydraulics. As it's an underground machine, the cab is interesting. There's no door and only some polycarbonate glass in some of the windows, and there's a heavy protective grille on the front. Inside, the cab detail is very good with a textured floor and some nice joystick controls. Details around the body are excellent, and the lights at the rear have tiny little protective grills. And the paint job on the model is really good, with even these bolt head details highlighted in silver. The detailing is just as good on top, with a fire extinguisher behind the cab and some excellent hydraulics. The great hydraulic details continue up on the boom, and there are more silvered rivet heads on the protection plates. One of the tools is this rotary milling head. It's all in metal and it's got excellent cutting picks. The other tool is a ripper bucket with very sharp teeth for clawing away at the tunnel excavation, and it's very well modelled in metal. But you know how annoying it can sometimes be to get something stuck between your teeth. Time to put the 944 onto the test track, and the tracks are too stiff to roll on a smooth surface, and in fact they are quite tight. So although you can roll them by hand, they're a little bit reluctant to move, and even on a rough surface, in fact, you can't get them to roll. The little dozing blade is good and works well. It raises and lowers, but not only that, the protection plates that protect the hydraulics that control the blade also go up and down. The movement of the boom, the stick and the tool head are all very interesting. The hydraulics have got the right amount of stiffness to be able to pose at any setting. And as it's a tunnelling machine, it has to be able to get into all sorts of awkward nooks and crannies. And so there's even a sideways tilting mechanism which gives some extra flexibility to the operator as to how he goes about his work. All of these functions are engineered well by NZG, and they work very well on the model. The range of movement is very good, and you can set it to reach up really quite high, as if it were working in quite a large tunnel. Although it would be a silly operator that excavates material right above his own head. And the other feature is the rotating body, which works well. It's smooth and there's no hint of rocking or looseness. Moving now to the cutting edge, the milling tool is very nice with its rotating heads. Changing the tools is fairly easy. It's held in place by a couple of steel pins which can be withdrawn. And then the milling head just drops off and the hydraulic hoses pull out of the stick. Attaching the ripper bucket is just a reverse process, although it can be a little bit fiddly to get the pins in. But once it's done, you then have an alternative way to display the model. This is an excellent and unusual model from NZG, and it looks very impressive in the colours of Käppeli. The detailing is pretty much first rate, and the features are pretty good too. And it's the sort of model that's really good to look at. It's an outstanding model.